What's going on, guys? Lovely to see everyone here. Give me a second to get this set up. Yeah, guys, what's up? LD Phoenix, what's going on, man? Hope you're well. Okay. All right. Cool. So today we're going to go through a video by App Mafia, and I think App Mafia is comprised of guys who are very talented. They're very good at what they do, maybe not the best educators, but all that aside, and whether or not App Mafia itself is a scam aside, I want to take a look at one of their videos that they released on their channel because I think it does a really, really good job of demonstrating what internet marketing looks to achieve as a result of... Okay, hold on. No, I don't know if that worked. Lights up. What's up? Can you guys hear me okay? I know you can hear me okay. Here we go. All right, cool. So now I want to talk about App Mafia. And it's not because I dislike these guys in the slightest. I think they're out there doing their thing. I think they're obviously talented at getting apps started, whether or not they're talented at getting apps to be profitable over a long period of time because they're able to reduce their churn rate and keep real ARR very, very high is a different matter. But the particular video that I want to take a look at is one of the videos that they released about App Mafia because I think it does a really good job of demonstrating how internet marketers frame criticism, frame upset with their customers in order to look like the underdog, in order to look like the good guy, so that they can either save face or potentially make more sales. And if you don't know kind of the background of what happened with App Mafia, these kids, which are comprised of a few kids who have had some success in the consumer app market. Let's see if I can get a good... Yeah, so these kids right here, this app was created by them. A lot of people got mad at how the App Mafia program was promoted on social media because of how kind of grifty the marketing felt, right? And in order to respond to a lot of this criticism, these guys went and created this video. And you can see inside of the first second here, the first thing that we see on screen is grifter. If we go literally 1 second over, scam, so disappointed, lost so much respect, drop a course, just disappointed, flop. All of these things are framing them as either a victim or as someone who is simply misunderstood and their greatness is misunderstood. And this video is going to be a clarifying factor. But let's watch the first 5-10 seconds of this clip, and then we'll do a little bit of talking to show how internet marketing can utilize victimization in order to make more sales. Let's take a look.
Yo, all my L's, they call me the V.
All right, so no words have actually been said inside of this video as of yet, right? But at the beginning, we see that there's a problem. We see that people are criticizing the App Mafia creators. And we're in this interesting period of time where if someone is being criticized online, especially if it's in the realm of saying, oh, they're a scammer, like so disappointed, lost so much respect, blah, 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 because you're being criticized, it must mean that you're onto something, that you're actually promoting real truth that normies just can't get their heads around. There's something online that has started to reward this. And this is all tied up with the fact that by going onto social media and saying something provocative, it generates a lot of conversation. It generates a lot of engagement, comments, saves, shares, likes. All of these things signal to the algorithm, hey, this piece of content is getting a lot of traction. Let's show it to more people because it's keeping people on the platform for longer. But because controversy in and of itself is something that attracts so much conversation, it's done this weird psyop on our psyches where if something is controversial and a lot of people are talking about it, it hijacks the part of our brain that sees social status and the fact that a lot of people are talking about something. It must mean that whatever is being spoken about is significant. And things have gone even farther here because when we all lived in small tribes, right? We were in a situation where if someone stood up and said something that went against the tribe, and not only did they say it, but they doubled down on it, we viewed that as a heroic and courageous act. Because if that person was willing to put their social status inside of the tribe on the line, which endangers them of being kicked out of the tribe and having to deal with, the African savannah by themselves, they must really, really mean whatever it is that they're saying. And as a result of that, it causes us to second guess ourselves, to look at the people saying the controversial thing and think, oh man, like they're giving up a lot in terms of their social status with the people in their real lives in order to say this crazy stuff online. They must really believe it. And if they must really believe it, maybe I should take a second look at it. Now, the thing that none of us see behind the scenes is most of the time, the people doing this have very little to lose in their social lives because they don't really have social lives to begin with. They don't have strong familial ties. They don't have strong ties with friends or family who can basically judge them for what they're doing and say, hey, bro, why are you doing this? Or they're just so narcissistic that they do have those ties, but they don't care about any of the criticism that they get online because our entire culture is set up in order to pursue power at the cost of everything else. And yet that pursuit of power at the cost of everything else is something that we consider to be socially acceptable. So again, I know that's a lot to read into inside of the first 10 seconds here, but the way that these guys are able to essentially save the narrative and to flip it in the direction of perhaps being misunderstood heroes, the real ones who are willing to say something deep and meaningful that the normies just aren't ready to hear, is because they started off with the controversy, which is good on a storytelling perspective, right?
Yo,
And then immediately we go into Lambos.
all my L's,
We
they
go
call
into
me the
nice
V.
cars.
Ay,
We go into their little mansion that they rent together. And what that does subconsciously is it allows us to look at the criticism that was leveled at them at the beginning of the video and then be shown like the level of their success that's just shown in the background nonchalantly. And it short circuits our brain and forces us to start thinking, well, fuck, everyone's criticizing them. And like, it seems to still have worked for them. Maybe they're really onto something that the normies are too cucked to understand. Instead of being able to just look at this and be like, oh, hey, they got a lot of criticism for their App Mafia course. I wonder what's going on there. It sets the stage for the rest of the video, for the rest of what it is that they're going to say, so that you as the viewer end up going into the rest of the video with more of an open mind. Because if they just started off the video with,
The current script time for YouTube. Alex.
with this right here, number one, it wouldn't be as interesting from a storytelling perspective. But number two, there's no narrative for you to actually start the video with. There's no way for them to put rose-colored glasses on you before you actually enter into the rest of what it is that they're going to say and how it is that they're going to frame what it is that they're doing. That's what's going on here. Subtle decisions in the editing can make huge differences, especially if you're in a place where, you're suffering, you're trying to figure out how to make money online, and you want to be different from everyone around you. You want to be the one that made it. And especially with the amount of messaging that you see online where you have to think differently, you have to go against the herd, you have to act against what other people are telling you in order to really, truly make it. There might be some truth in that. But keep in mind, most of the people telling that to you on YouTube are the ones who sell some sort of cult-like course, like Hamza, like Iman Ghatzi, where if you were to show anyone else in your life who has more than 2 brain cells a Hamza video, they'd be like, bro, this is cringe. What are you doing? Don't do this. Whatever you do, don't do this. And they basically need to separate you from your social circle so that their judgment, if they happen to judge you, or if you don't happen to tell them at all because you're disconnected from their social circle, from that social circle, no one around you is saying, hey, don't buy Hamza's course, don't buy Iman Ghatzi's course, don't buy appmafia's course. This shit is cringe, and you're probably not going to learn anything, and it's certainly not going to change your life. That's what any reasonable person would tell you. And again, that isn't so much even a drag on the courses that appmafia or Hamza or Iman Ghatzi put out. Most of the time, these courses are very, very, very appropriate for beginners. If you're an absolute beginner and you don't know anything about anything related to selling stuff online, these courses can be very, very useful for you, right? No shame in the game of creating a course. A course in and of itself is not an evil thing. But is a course going to take you from A to Z in the way that the course marketing usually tries to convince you that it will? No. And luckily, the market is becoming more sophisticated. People are able to see through the bullshit at this point. But, the thing to keep in mind here is that the reason why the people on your screen say, hey, you need to be different, you need to not listen to other people, is because they actively want you to shut yourself off from outside criticism of what's happening on your screen so that the person on your screen can develop an even tighter parasocial relationship with you so that you buy their program. And again, that's not even to talk shit on their program. That's to talk shit on the marketing practice leading in the direction of the program, because they're not trying to get you to buy their program by showing you logically what you'll get out of it. For example, the thing that I've learned about business is you really have 2 ways of selling someone on something. Either A, you go in and you sell them on the feeling, the emotion behind whatever it is that you're talking about. This is very much what we just saw here at the beginning of this video, right? We go immediately
Yo,
into
all my elders give me the
Lambos. This is the aspirational life that everyone wants to achieve for themselves. You can lean in with this type of marketing and basically say, hey, all of this could be yours if you just take my program, which actively encourages the person listening to you to turn off large sectors of their brain and to purchase from an emotional state of mind. Again, I'm not calling that process necessarily evil in and of itself. It's business. This is how people sell stuff on the internet. This is how it goes. There's no changing this. This is the reality of the market. However, the second way that you can sell things to people is by going to someone and saying, hey, look, I need an investor for this. I need you to put in $1, but here's the exact mechanism that will ensure that when you put in when you put in $1, $3 comes out. If you can specifically show someone how you can essentially be a cash ATM for them, they'll give you unlimited amounts of money until the point at which the market becomes fatigued of whatever the offer is, or the resource that's being capitalized on is no longer available. Right? But the second modality of convincing someone to do business with you, to lead your marketing with, hey, $1 goes in, $3 comes out, that is more in the realm of saying, hey, here's a real business opportunity that I can track for you. ABC123, where you don't have to do any of the work. You just give me your money, and $1 goes in and $3 comes out. That's very different than doing what these guys are doing, whether it's appmafia, Hamza, Iman Ghatzi, any of these guys, where not only are they saying, not leading with the $1 in, $3 comes out, they're leading with, oh, don't you want this flashy lifestyle? But you got to be able to put in the work. You got to be able to hustle harder than everyone else around you. But if you're willing to do that, buy my $50 course and you're going to get the Lambo that you see on your screen. Is that true for the majority of people? No, it isn't. And the course sellers know that. And again, even that right there does not make them evil. It does not make them bad, horrible people. It makes them businessmen. Again, this is business. If you don't have the ability to walk up to a potential client and say, hey, put $1 in, $3 comes out, because, like appmafia, you have to watch like a fucking 15-hour course, which I know I watched the entire thing. If you want to go watch the review for that particular course, you can. It's on another channel of mine. But you have to watch the 15-hour course. Then you have to learn coding from scratch. Then you have to learn marketing from scratch. Then you have to learn product delivery from scratch. Then you have to learn talent acquisition from scratch. They don't tell you any of that in the marketing, because if they did, because if they went in the direction of saying, hey, put $1 in and $3 will come out, but first you have to master this, and also put in 1, 2, 3 years of your life in order to get the $3 out. If they were to lead with that marketing, no one would buy the programs, right? So as a result, the only way to sell it is to sell the dream, to sell the thing that you see on your screen here. And again, does this make them bad people? No. Most of the time, the people who buy this type of program, the people who buy appmafia or Content Accelerator or Hamza's YouTube community coaching thing, whatever. Most of the time, the people buying these programs are people who are cosplaying as real entrepreneurs because they're in a place that's really, really difficult financially, or there's some sort of other personal stress happening in their lives. And a refuge that they have from that stress is to go on the internet and to pretend to be a guy with a big dick because they're building their own business by starting a YouTube channel, by doing drop shipping, by creating consumer apps. Right? But what they go in understanding on a subconscious level, they don't understand this on a conscious level, but what they go into these programs understanding is that they don't have the skills to pull off whatever is inside of the course that they just bought. They don't have the work ethic to pull it off. They might not even have the intelligence to pull it off. But if you look at that reality directly in the eye as a consumer, as a person in the world, where you look at yourself and you realize that you don't have the work ethic, you don't have the intelligence, you don't have the ability to pull off something great. How do you deal with that complete destruction of your sense of self? Because with life-shattering realizations like that, you have two options. Either you off yourself, number one, or number two, you allow your entire life to burn down to the ground, as well as your entire conceptualization of how you view yourself, and you build from the ground up, and that building process takes 5, 10 years in order to fully see come to fruition. Most people don't have that ability. That's the thing that they miss. It's not the intelligence most of the time. It's not the work ethic. It's the willingness for their entire life to burn down and to start from nothing. And to have to directly look at themselves in the eye and say, hey, I have no skills. I have no work ethic. What am I going to do about this? However, these course sellers don't lead with that type of messaging. Right? Because if they did, they wouldn't sell anything. But this is everything that's at play. This is all of the internal psychology that you utilize on your end when you engage with any content online that encourages you to try and make money this way or try and make money this way through AI automation or drop shipping or whatever, right? This is all the shit that's happening in the background every single time you engage with one of these videos. And you notice, how far are we into the video at this point? We're like 10 seconds. Literally, we got like 10, 12 seconds into the video. No one even started talking yet. And the only reason why I'm able to talk about any of this is because I am the one behind the camera. I am the one directing the editing teams to get you to feel something that causes you to take action in the real world that is a benefit to me. I am the one figuring out how to do that without having the real mechanism where you can come in and say, hey, put $1 in, $3 comes out. How can we sell products without having that mechanism? That's what I have been doing with Anti.Prophet, with the content creator that I worked for prior to Anti.Prophet. From 2021 all the way up until 2024, probably middle of 2025 if I'm being honest. Because that's the name of the game. Because most people don't find the business opportunity that turns $1 into $3. And when they do find it, you know where they don't talk about it? On social media. Because they don't want other people to find the limited amount of arbitrage that they've come across. They want to keep it all to themselves. They might talk to one trusted investor, one trusted advisor. They're not going out and creating a course about it. And I think the last thing that I'll say here is even if you disregard everything that I've just said right here, right? And you watch the rest of this video and you're like, well, damn, like these guys seem pretty awesome. Like, look at this party that they hosted at their house where they're giving a speech. Like, I wish that was me. Cool. Yeah. No, respect. Work towards whatever you want to work towards. And I truly mean that. I don't mean that with any sarcasm. Live the life you want to live. If you feel like you want to achieve this and you can achieve it, go and do it. But do so in a way that is digitally sober. Do so in a way where you're not endlessly spinning your wheels, consuming content, thinking that the content is going to be the thing that saves you from whatever stress you're experiencing in your life. It's not. The thing that's going to save you is action, is going and doing something, and going and being okay with failing over and over and over and over and over until you find the right thing. It's taken me 1.5 years to figure out that this mode of communication that you are watching on your screen right now, where I'm sitting here talking, is the way that I need to create long-form content. It's taken me 1.5 years to figure out that this is what it is that I want to talk about. Because it wasn't just a matter of being like, oh, let's just post online and see what works. That's how Anti.Prophet 1.0 was built. That's how it happened. I just let my subconscious take over completely. But the problem there is that when I let my subconscious completely take over, I opened up a hole inside of myself that had a lot of ideas that, when I took a deeper look at them, didn't really reflect the type of life that I wanted to continue living. Like 1.5 years ago, I made this video talking about how Trump could declare martial law and go door to door with the military to deport, however many illegal aliens there were in the country. That's where I was psychologically 1.5 years ago. And I got to a place where I realized I was saying that stuff so that I could continue catering to my audience, which is the thing that gave me views, so that I could continue using those views as eyeballs in front of the products that I was selling. And again, do I look back on that version of myself and think that I'm a bad person? No. You know why? Because that's business. It is what it is. I think the thing that would make me a bad person, and the only time that I'm willing to call someone who has a course, who creates content that they themselves don't actually believe in order to make sales, like even that person is not a scammer. The person who is a scammer is the person who creates a course where they know that no one is going to get the results that they're actually looking to get out of the course, who does so by saying things that they don't believe in order to make those sales, and this is the final part, this is the thing that makes someone a scammer in my eyes, and does so while kind of rejoicing in the background around the fact that people are spending their hard-earned money and that they are taking advantage of them and they're manipulating them. They derive pleasure out of the suffering and the exploitation of others. That is the only thing that I'm willing to call a scammer. If you create a course, again, it's valuable to someone somewhere. If you create a course and you know most people are not going to get the outcome that they're looking to get from your course, that's business. And again, it still provides a real value in the market because people need to cosplay as business owners in order to survive their everyday lives. They need something. It's better than heroin. It's better than alcohol, you know? If the thing that they're going to choose as a life fiction is that they're an entrepreneur when they don't have any skills or work ethic whatsoever, is it the worst thing that they go and buy a course to try and cosplay as that entrepreneur? No, it isn't. So again, you create a course where you know most people won't get the outcome. Still not a scammer. If you create a course where you know most people won't get the outcome and you say things on camera that you don't believe in order to make more sales, still not a scammer. That's a business. That is the reality of every single video that you see on your computer screen every single day. If you believe everyone is a scammer in that level, then you should turn off social media. You should get off social media. Or you should start some sort of campaign that makes it so that social media is illegal in America, right? Those are your options. But this is the reality of business. At some point, creators have to figure out whether or not they continue going in the direction that their subconscious originally pointed them in, because they've already built out an audience and they've already achieved a certain level of notoriety with that audience, which they can leverage in the realm of making more money, having more social status, getting more opportunities, etc. Or they have to burn it all down and create a new channel because their thinking has changed. Not many content creators are willing to do that. And I don't blame them. Especially when someone like a big media personality, let's say like Megyn Kelly or whatever, I made a video about this yesterday. When someone like that has a media team behind them where they're responsible for paying for the lives of 10, 20 people who support them in their business, you best fucking believe that you show up and you say whatever you need to say into a camera in order to support those people. Again, do I think it's right? Do I think it's indicative of the type of society that we want to set up for ourselves? No, not at all. But I understand it. And I'm not going to call these people scammers. The only time that I will call them a scammer is when they create a course that they know will serve next to no one, when they actively say bullshit on a camera in order to get eyeballs in the direction of their course, and when they derive pleasure from the fact that their customers are putting themselves in a worse spot financially for their own financial gain. That is the only time that I'm willing to call someone a scammer. So again, when I take a look at what the app mafia kids are doing, do I really think that they've built strong businesses that will be around for the next 2 to 3 years because they've figured out the economics in terms of how to make their consumer apps as sticky as possible so that their monthly recurring revenue is as strong as possible and people will continue using their apps 2 or 3 years into the future? No, of course not. Do I think it's deceptive marketing to a certain degree for them to say, oh, like I have like a 24 million ARR business that I've created with Cal AI, when they're basing those numbers off of like 1 month's worth of sales from a Mr. Beast collaboration that they probably paid, $1 million for. And then they made like $1 million or $2 million in profit, probably less, from that brand collaboration. And then month 2 and month 3 and month 4 from that brand collaboration, they have 40, 60% churn, right? I'm making up these numbers. I don't know what their churn is. I don't know how many people are dropping off from Cal AI on a monthly basis. But the fact that they don't publish those numbers is a pretty good indication that the numbers aren't great. And that saying that you have a 20 million ARR company is likely just saying how much you made in a month and timesing it by 12 without any regard to what your churn is. But even so, do I think these guys are scammers as a result? No, not at all. Because I don't think these guys derive pleasure in the idea of ruining other people's lives. I think Andrew Tate does. I think Tristan Tate does. I don't think Iman Ghatzi does. Hamza maybe does, but in a weird, twisted, perverted way where he thinks he's doing good when he's actually not. But again, when you come across any piece of content on social media, this is all the shit that is playing in the background that you need to take into account. Because if you don't, you're allowing yourself to be hypnotized by things that are saying, oh, you can have this life, you can have this kind of life. Just do this, just do that. Then 1 year goes by, 5 years go by, 10 years go by, and you're still in the same goddamn place. Because you fell for the hypnosis. And you chose to cosplay over taking real action. Over taking a hard look at yourself in the mirror and just realizing that you're cut out for a salary job. Guess what? People who have salary jobs make substantially more than 80, 90% of entrepreneurs over the course of a 10-year period. Because that's the nature of business. You want to actually be rich? Get a job that pays you well. Get a real skill. Now, do I say that to dissuade you from any of your hopes and dreams of being an entrepreneur? No. But get real about yourself. Get real with yourself, about whether or not you are an entrepreneur. And don't let shit like this on your screen talk you into being an entrepreneur when you know deep down in your heart of hearts, if you were to actually take a look at yourself, that you're not cut out for it. Because the only thing that you're going to do there is you're going to waste your time. You're going to spend money in the direction of course, that's not going to do anything for you. So if you choose self-deception for you and for your life, if you choose to cosplay as something that you're not, more power to you. But the app mafia guys, they're not the scammers. You're the one scamming yourself. Okay, end that clip there. All right, so from here, I'd like to take a look at this video from Jeffrey Mead. Jeffrey is a guy who bases his entire brand around conservative talking points, around politics, around race relations, again, from a conservative black person's point of view. Let's go ahead and watch this video. He's responding to a Zoran Mamdani video. I think this does a really good job of showing how political content creators frame arguments in order to not even make real things happen in the real world politically, but to gain more notoriety, more money for themselves. Let's go ahead and watch.
Starting on day one, we will expand the city's special enforcement programs, doubling fines for hazardous violations and tripling them for conditions that are immediately dangerous. And when a really bad landlord, like this guy, refuses to fix it, the city's going to step in, make the repairs, and send them the bill. If that doesn't work, the city's taking over the building.
Okay, so let's pause this really quick right here, right? So even with the video that we just watched from Zoran Mamdani, I want you to keep in mind here, there are two very different ways of watching that video. The first way is if you are on the democratic socialist side of things and your core worldview is that the landlords are a parasitic class inside of society that don't actually produce any real value. They're not even, the people with the real means of production that Marx talks about seizing. They're a parasitic class that is extracting value out of the market unethically. And as a result of that, you listen to what Zoran was saying on screen, and you're thinking to yourself, yeah, hopefully this landlord doesn't do the repair, and the city can come in and seize the building. That's the best possible solution. All right? Now, if you're on the other side of the political spectrum, and you believe in capitalism, and you believe that any critique of capitalism is a critique on your very sense of being and sense of self, then what it is that you just saw on your screen was terrifying. This is a mayor inside of the most powerful city in the country, probably next to Washington, D.C., and he's saying, hey, we're going to start seizing private property. That sounds like communism to me, right? That doesn't sound very good. So again, I frame it that way. I want to paint that picture because with what it is that you just saw, I want you to realize that there is no objective way of watching a video like that and having an objective point of view about like the only way that a clip like that can come across on social media. And we inherently know this, right? We understand that people watch the exact same video and likely see it in completely different ways. We even see this when we go and see movies with our friends. We go to the movies, we watch it, at the end we discuss it. One guy liked it, one guy didn't. Same piece of content, exact same movie, completely different viewpoints going in. So I say that to set up the rest of what Jeffrey is going to mention here, because it's important to be able to even take a look at what's happening inside of the clip that's being responded to by the person responding to the clip in a video where I am responding to a person responding to a clip. So let's go ahead and watch.
Putting the worst landlords out of business.
They would like to put all landlords out of business. One of the core tenets of socialism is getting control of the means of production. And this is a great way to work on getting more control over the means of production while looking and seeming virtuous.
Okay, so already inside of this critique, it's pretty clear which side of the aisle Jeffrey Mead is on. He's obviously on the side of conservative politics. Now, the thing to keep in mind here, though, is within these first couple of words, we have a pretty good idea of where the rest of the video is going to go, which is important as a content creator, because without coming out and saying it every single time, you have to signal to your core audience or the people who are coming across you for the first time that might agree with what it is that you are saying. You have to signal to them in very few words that you're on their team, because if you don't, they're either going to get bored with your video, number one, or number two, they're going to watch and be confused about what it is that you stand for. And if it doesn't perfectly reflect their own values and beliefs back to them, they're just going to click off the video. So something that Jeffrey is very, very good at doing is signaling to the people who watch his videos, hey, I'm on your side. You and I believe the same thing. We're viewing a socialist on our screen with this Zoran guy. This is obviously not good. Let's talk about Marx and his idea of seizing the means of production. He's signaling to his audience that that's what he believes. Now, the reason I point that out is because, again, the thing that you need to keep in mind with every piece of content that you're coming across on social media, it is being optimized to get as many views as possible. That is the point. It is not being optimized for truth. It's not being optimized for nuance. It's not being optimized to give you any real sense of reality. This is a 2-minute and 16-second video where 30 seconds of the video was taken up by another clip that he's reacting to. Do you think that Jeffrey Mead is going to be able to get across any real view into what is happening in reality? Do you think he's going to be able to get that across in 2 minutes? In less than 2 minutes? In 1 minute and 45 seconds? Probably not. But we don't care about that, do we? We're not on our X video feed to participate in nuance. We're there because we're trying to zone out. We're trying to distract ourselves from the stresses from our everyday, whether those stresses are financial or health related or relationship related, doesn't matter. We're trying to distract ourselves from the discomfort of being here in the present moment. As a result, we're looking for hypnosis. We're not looking for any real statement of facts. If we were looking for a real statement of fact, we would be able to look at what Jeffrey Mead just said about, wanting the state to come in and to seize the means of production from landlords. And we'd be able to say, hey, Jeffrey, Marx doesn't even view the landlord class as a real participant in the means of production. He views them as a parasitic class that extracts capital outside of what's happening naturally in the market. That's how Marx views it. He's misappropriating like the even conceptualization of what real production in Marx's worldview looks like. But it doesn't matter, right? If you're someone who agrees with what Jeffrey Mead has said thus far, you don't care about what Marx said. And I'm not saying that makes you a bad person. You're not there for the truth. You're not there for nuance. You're not on your Shorts video feed to really learn something. You're there to chill. You're there to zone out. You're there to distract yourself. Why? Because the world is a difficult place. And we all need a little bit of reprieve from the stresses of our everyday life. And what's an easier reprieve than pulling out the thing from our pocket and just zoning out and watching some social media via our unlimited data plan? Sounds like a pretty good coping mechanism to me. Let's keep watching.
He just said we'd take the building and then resell it to an individual, but he did not say that. Again, because he's a socialist and they want control over the means of production, which is quite interesting.
Again, another mention of the means of production. Completely improper usage, but again, it doesn't matter for you or for him. His goal is to get as many views as possible by signaling to you at the beginning of the video that he is on your team and that he's just going to mirror back your pre-existing beliefs to you so that he can make more money from X, from his Substack, and so that you can go away from the video feeling self-righteous about what it is that you've come across, because here's another person who agrees with your worldview, which confirms to you that what it is that you believe is right, when in reality, the algorithm is just showing you another person who happens to believe what you believe, so that you feel good about yourself, so that you come back to the platform and continue giving the algorithm data to show you more and more content that is perfectly aligned with what you want to see next, so that the platform can make as much money as possible because it's able to show you as many ads as possible by you staying on the platform for longer and longer and longer. And yet, here you are probably watching a video like this from Jeffrey Mead or from Tucker Carlson or from Hassan or from Destiny or from Vosh or from Candace Owens or from Nick Fuentes. It doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on, right? This video happens to be about someone who's conservative. It's not about conservative versus Democrat. It's not about Groypers versus Tankies. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with you as a genuine individual, not as someone who is enraptured by groupthink. Someone who is able to look at a video and understand when it is acting as a coping mechanism in your life, rather than some sort of view into reality. Because I can assure you it's not. Again, this is a 2-minute video. If you think that any amount of nuance is coming out of a 2-minute video, you have deluded yourself into believing that your coping mechanism is actually making your life better. You become an alcoholic. You are inside of late-stage addiction when it comes to screen time. But in this case, your vice is your phone rather than a handle of vodka. Right? This is how addicts rationalize their addiction to themselves and to others. Oh, I'm learning something. Oh, like social media enriches my life because of how much I'm able to see about what's really happening in the world. You're not being shown reality. You are so far inside of Plato's cave, you don't know your ass from a hole in the ground. And I don't say that to you to try and belittle you. It's not that. I'm there. We're all there. I'm sitting here showing you a video that came onto my feed because the algorithm knows me well enough and knows my goals well enough that it needs to show me controversial shit because I need to have something to talk about here on social media in order to try and build a business. We are all complicit in this. Our heads are so far up our asses that we are going farther and farther and farther away from reality. And guess what? We're probably, most of us, never going to return to reality as it was ever again. Just like people in the 1990s, we're probably never going to return to any sort of reality that mirrored the 1950s. That is not how history goes. That's not how progress goes. And I know a lot of people hear what I just said and they think to themselves, oh, well, then we need to choose traditionalism. We have to actively go back to how it was. I want to ask you this. At any point in your life where maybe you were 25 and you thought about how life was at 21, and at 25 you tried to go back and create a life for yourself that was similar to that which you had at age 21. How did that go for you? For any of you who are in a long-term relationship, how many of you have been 5 years into that relationship and been like, oh man, things were so much better when like we were at 6 months or like a year. I'm going to try and go back to that. And you try and artificially prop up what you felt like your relationship looked like back in year one. How'd that go for you? You already know. It didn't go well. Because it's you actively fighting the reality of what your life looks like here and now on the ground. And when you try and do that, reality has a really, really insidious way of pulling you back down with gravity and saying, no, motherfucker, this is reality now. Either hypnotize yourself with whatever addictive substance that you have access to, whether that's alcohol, whether that's heroin, whether that's your phone. Either turn off your brain and cope until you die, or look reality in the eye as it is and make some decisions from there. Most people go in the direction of the first one. And fair enough, man. Most people want to be left alone. Most people don't want to think about their lives. Most people want to just enjoy the time that they have with their friends and family after working their shitty job that they don't really like but don't ultra hate for 8 hours a day. They just come home and vibe. That's what most people want. And that's fine. There's a place inside of society for these people. But for the rest of us who want something larger, want something deeper, who are starting to wrestle with the question of, who am I? What are my foundational values? What kind of business am I going to build on top of that foundational value? How am I going to actually sell the thing that I want to offer the market from my foundational value? And how am I going to get traffic in the direction of that offer that is built on my foundational value? And on top of that, how does all of that fit into a new cultural mythos that a country like America can start to live into and participate in and create from the ground up? Because right now, you know, we're in a situation where when we killed God, I'm not talking we, the United States, because of our godlessness, I'm talking about the Enlightenment more than anything else. When the Enlightenment started to kill God, we didn't really replace him with anything. And most people need a replacement. Most people need something to tell them what to do, to help them orient themselves in the world. Now, the thing that's filled the vacuum right now is just the pursuit of power. It's the pursuit of resources. It's the pursuit of both of those things at any cost, which is why we have the economy that we have, which is why we have the types of relationships that we have, which is why you likely spend much of your day consuming the type of content that you do because you want to feel better than other people, when in the reality of your life, you're not better than anyone. Your life is pretty average. Things are going okay. They're not great, but they're not bad. But you want to cosplay as if you are Nietzsche's Übermensch, which is why you watch content on Nietzsche. Right? It's unbearable for us to be able to open the apps on our phones, on Instagram, and see people traveling the world, being in Dubai one week and being in Singapore the next week. And to look at our own lives and be like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? And as a result, we cosplay. We cosplay with business ideas. We cosplay with ideas surrounding gender dynamics and relationships, especially when it comes to traditionalism in that sense. And we cosplay by thinking that we are the chosen ones politically and that we know exactly how reality works because we come across a Jeffrey Mead video that happens to push a couple of our buttons where we watch it and we're like, yeah, damn, this guy knows exactly what he's talking about. And holy shit, like our country's in trouble. I live in Wichita, Kansas, and my country's going to fall apart because of the mayoral election inside of New York City. Come on. Come on. Wake up. And again, I don't say that. I don't say any of this to talk down to you. We're all inside of this. So what are we going to do about it? The choice that I've made is to make content about it, is to make anti-mimetic content that has a very low likelihood of going viral in the algorithm with the majority of people, because the majority of people want to continue using social media as a coping mechanism. But, like I was saying earlier, the last year and a half has been me trying to figure out what my core foundational value is, how to build a business on top of that, and how to get traffic to that offer. And this is what I've come up with. This is the foundational value in my life that is connected to what I view to be the best path forward for humanity. And as a result, I have something that feels aligned, that feels in line with what it is that I want to accomplish in the world based on the future that I think would best serve the people inside of my country and the people of the world, honestly. I don't think anyone would really be fucked over in any real way in the event that they became digitally sober from their phone. I think it's probably a good thing in every country of the world. I can't think of a single country where I'd be like, oh, you know what? I think unfettered social media addiction is a great thing. I would never say that. No one would say that. And yet that's how we interface with the algorithm as things currently stand. So again, at this point, are we even talking about the video? No. Let's keep going. We'll watch a little bit more of this and we'll go from there.
If you think about it, because he could quite literally create a self-reinforcing loop that gives him legal justification to seize more property from individual property owners. Okay, let's say they freeze rent, meaning property owners cannot increase the price of rent to keep up with their cost. Therefore, they start losing money on owning these properties, which then doesn't allow these individuals to have the money to maintain these properties, which then means over time, these properties get in worse and worse condition, which then leads to many properties being not well taken care of, dilapidated, whatever. So then I have to think about this. As a result of Mondani's policies, right? People can no longer, rent their rental properties out profitably. They're losing money. They don't have the money to keep up with these properties. And now these properties are not in good condition. And now Mondani can come back and say, you're not doing what you need to do. We're taking that property.
Okay, so out of all of the paths forward in what could happen inside of the New York City real estate market, do you think that what it is that he just said is a reasonable way that things could likely play out? Or is it more likely that Jeffrey Mead tried to come up with the most catastrophic possible outcome where the U.S., not even the U.S. government, the local New York City government started owning more and more and more and more and more property without any pushback from the major real estate developers inside of New York City and the real trust fund and asset management companies inside of New York City? Do we really think that what it is that he just said is more likely to play out, or that he's catastrophizing things in order to cater to his audience, in order to get views, because his entire business model is set up on how many views he can get? Probably the second one, right? But again, we don't care. We come across a video like this, we don't think about any of the economics on the back end of what Jeffrey Mead is trying to promote, or whether or not he's catastrophizing in order to try and keep his business afloat, because it's a view-based business, because the algorithm that he posts on doesn't value truth. It values engagement and watch time. We don't think about any of that. getting back to what I said at the beginning of the video, if you're the type of person who is a democratic socialist, you come across Jeffrey Mead's video and you hop into the comment section to write a paragraph about why him and all of his supporters are wrong, which boosts Jeffrey Mead's video in the algorithm. If you're on the right, you come in and you're like, yeah, Mamdani is going to destroy our country. This is just a sign of things to come. And you comment that inside of the comment section, and it boosts his video. Does any of this have to do with truth? Do any of us care about any of the things that empowers a video like this to be shown to us on our screen? No, we don't. Because we're here to choose hypnosis over reality. So what do we do about it? That's my question to you. All right, so from here, the very last thing that I want to talk about here today is a video by Myron Gaines. The name of this video is How Men Must Navigate the Modern Dating Market. And we're going to do a couple of things here. We're going to take a look at how some of the arguments are framed from a content creator's perspective, but we're not going to spend too much time on that. We're also going to listen to the core advice that Myron Gaines is putting forth in this video and seeing what would logically play out inside of a relationship if you were to apply it to a long-term committed relationship. So let's watch a little bit of what's going on here, and we'll go from there.
Anytime that the dynamic is she has more power than you or more leverage than you, it's a matter of time until the relationship ends, and it's going to be miserable. You never want a woman to be in a position where she feels like she's a boss, she feels like she's a leader, she feels like she can get you to comply with her demands. It's going to be a miserable existence for you. It's got to be the other way around. Women are terrible, terrible.
You know what? Sorry. I'm going to start this over. Editor, keep in the intro. I'm just going to start the video over because we were having some frame rate issues.
Anytime that the dynamic is she has more power than you or more leverage than you, it's a matter of time until the relationship ends, and it's going to be miserable. You never want a woman to be in a position where she feels like she's a boss, she feels like she's a leader, she feels like she can get you to comply with her demands. It's going to be a miserable existence for you. It's got to be the other way around. Women are terrible, terrible people when they have leverage in a relationship. Guys need to really be in their frame and internalize the fact that, number one, women are not leaders. Number two, you're better than her in every way. Act like it. And then number three, don't listen to what they say. Watch what they do.
Okay, so I don't even know what to say. Look, when it comes to YouTube video intros, we've talked about this before. The content creator on the other side of the lens, usually in post-production, is going through the entirety of the conversation that they've had. This is from a podcast that's probably, an hour, 2 hour long conversation. The editing team is going through, or the content creator themselves, depending on how big the operation is. Myron has editors. He has an editing team. So they're going through trying to find the most viral moments that they possibly can to put at the beginning of the video. This does two things. Number one, it catches your interest because it provokes an emotional response, which is marketing 101 in every single marketing book that you will ever come across. Marketing 101 is provoke an emotional response in the mind of your reader or your viewer. So it does that. And as a result of doing that, it makes you want to watch the rest of the video. But number two, it also frames everything else that's going to come after it. You cannot engage with the rest of the video outside of the lens that is put over your eyes as a result of the intro that's chosen for the video. Those are the two things that video editors are optimizing around. It's much more in the realm of the first one. Most video editors aren't coming in here and being like, oh, you know what? I really believe in the mission that Myron Gaines, who is my employer, really is trying to put out into the world. So as a result, I'm going to find something that frames the rest of the conversation and essentially allows him to emotionally and intellectually psyop everyone who comes across this video. No one's thinking like that. The content creator might be, but the editor isn't. But usually, when you are trying to find the most emotionally divisive statements inside of a video to start the video with your intro, it accomplishes the second one by proxy. So from here, let's continue watching. Go from there.
So with women, what they say versus what they respond to are two different things, right?
Okay, so that right there. Have you ever met a man who has a large divide between what it is that they say and what it is that they do? Yes, we all have. You know why? Because it's a human trait. This isn't a trait of women. Now, a lot of people might hear what it is that I just said here, and they might say to themselves, well, it's a trait of all women, but the men who do it are utilizing it because it's an ultimately feminine trait. Okay. Fair, whatever. But like, is that practically useful for you in your everyday life? Is it? Is going around spending your entire day trying to figure out what's a feminine trait or a masculine trait? Has that given you a lot of ROI in your life over the last 5 years since Red Pill has become a thing? Really, just look at your life honestly. If you're being honest, I'm sure the answer is no, especially if you're still single. And especially if all of the relationships that you've had since 2020, when all of this shit really blew up online, have been less than a year long. That's kind of the core point that I'm going to be making throughout this video. But again, does it serve you to go around thinking that all women say one thing and do another, especially in the context of the fact that countless, literally countless men, women, it doesn't matter, literally exhibit that same trait, because being afraid of telling the truth and losing status isn't a female or male thing. That is a human being thing. We are hierarchical in nature. So why is he framing it as a female thing? Let's keep watching.
And the reason they say versus what they respond to are two different things, right? And the reason for that is because women fundamentally know that their sexual market value and their appealability to the opposite gender is contingent upon their sexual past.
Okay, cool. So again, the even more foundational claim that he's making here is that women say one thing and do another thing because they understand that they have something to lose most of the time. Because if they come out and say and do the same thing, they have to be honest about everything that they're doing. And they don't want to be honest because they want to have their cake and eat it too. This is a human thing. This has nothing to do with sexual marketplace value. This has to do with having a culture that is set up at pursuing power and pursuing prestige at any cost, and having the entire society set up in that way. Not from a Marxist, like, stupid point of view. That's not what I'm saying here. Is that we don't have a better cultural mythos to orient ourselves around. And spoiler alert, Christianity ain't going to cut it. If Christianity would have been able to cut it, we would have still all been Christian, right? But we're not. The Enlightenment made sure of that. It's already killed God. And now we're left in this power vacuum where power is the only thing that anyone cares about. And we haven't filled the vacuum with a stronger cultural mythos as of yet. But with what Myron's saying, again, it's not a female thing about sexual marketplace value. It's about people generally wanting to be able to do one thing and act another way in order to have their cake and eat it too, because that's the easiest way to live. And when the pursuit of power is the only thing that matters, who cares about a couple of broken eggs along the way? So again, everything that he's said thus far is not a female thing. It is a human thing. Let's keep watching.
That their sexual market value and their appealability to the opposite gender is contingent upon their sexual past. So they have to put on a facade of purity to be able to attract the highest quality mate that they can. But if you...
Okay, cool. So let's even pull this apart. How many times has Myron Gaines likely inflated claims about what his courses will help you achieve in your life in order to make sales? Anyone? Anyone? Any answers here? A lot. Pretty much all the time. Similar to what we were saying in another video. Course sellers generally have to get people to buy their courses by making the viewer emotional, which apparently is against one of Myron's core tenets of what it means to be a man. But his entire marketing strategy is based on emotionality. It's based on provoking emotions on the side of his viewers. And again, this doesn't make Myron a monster. It makes him familiar with marketing 101. This is the first thing that you learn in marketing. Provoke an emotional response from the people that you're trying to sell to, especially when you're in a situation where you can't say, hey, if you put in $50 into this course, or if you put in $2,000 in order to come meet me on some rented ferry boat in bumfuck Miami with a bunch of girls who were paid to be at the party who don't want to talk to you, you know. Sorry, editor. Really quick. Then go ahead and put in that money, because on the other side of it, you're definitely going to get a girlfriend. If there was a way for Myron to come in and say, hey, put in $1, put in $50, put in $2,000, and on the other side you are guaranteed to have a girlfriend, he'd be a bajillionaire. But there's no way for him to guarantee that. No product that he could possibly sell guarantees that. It doesn't even guarantee that the people who pay that money will get laid more. It doesn't. And as a result of that, his marketing has to lead with emotional claims about what girls are really like, the problems with long-term dating, the problems with modern women. It's emotional. It's emotional. It's emotional psychological terrorism in order to get people to buy his product. And yet he's sitting here with the audacity to say that women talk about one thing when it comes to their sexual past when another thing might be true. Which, by the way, if you're finding yourself around those type of women, that's your fucking fault. You know who I don't hang out with? People who do that. I'm not surrounded by people who lie about their sexual past because they don't need to. And granted, I hang out with people who have a very promiscuous sexual past. I hang out with people who have slept with like 2 people. You know why? Because I optimize around hanging out with people who tell the truth. I don't optimize for people who are, virgins, right? That's essentially what he's promoting here. I don't optimize for any of that. I optimize for straight and direct communication because that is what allows my life to move forward with as much efficiency and predictability as possible. That's what I want. I think that's what most people want. If you want to be around people who are unpredictable, then yeah, go find the women who actively lie about their sexual past in order to get something from you. But realize that you're the one making that choice. And if you're going around saying, oh, like, I'm not the one making the choice, that's just how all modern women are, you're abdicating your responsibility as an individual to go and find your tribe that actually edifies your life. That's on you, brother. That's not on modern women. Myron just wants you to think that it's on modern women because his entire business model is set up in such a way where he needs to continue to get views, and he understands that getting a new viewer on his channel is much harder than getting a return viewer. So he'll still continue to shovel the same shit that he's shoveled in your direction since 2021 because it means that he can still have a certain level of income coming in every single month and a certain level of public recognition and notoriety that he can leverage in order to feel significant. That doesn't make him a bad person. It just makes him a businessman. This is business, as we always say here. Right? Let's keep watching.
Have to put on a facade of purity to be able to attract the highest quality mate that they can. But if you actually study them and figure out what turns them on and everything else like that, they have to be a bit deceptive to be able to get the highest guy that they want and not come off as a whore. But at the same time, they're hoping you as the man, you get it. One of the most...
Again, as a business person, Myron knows he has to be a little bit deceptive in his marketing in order to make sales, but hopefully you as a consumer kind of get it. It's the exact same thing. It's projection, except he's coming at it from a dating perspective, when in reality he's living and breathing it, probably in the realm of his dating. I'm not going to say 100% sure one way or the other. I don't know the guy. but it's 100% happening in his marketing. It's retarded.
Most popular female books to illustrate this is a book called 50 Shades of Grey. And the reason why is because the male main character is a tall, good-looking, in shape, wealthy individual who's extremely dominant and assertive, and not only conveys this personality in the real world, but also in the bedroom. And women love this type of thing because he's able to check all the boxes that women want. He has the, what I call the survival value traits, right? Of, increased resources, strength, etc. But he also has the competence and he has the good looks all in one. Very few men actually have all these things. So that book, the reason why women are so attracted to it is because the guy checks off all the boxes. But most importantly, he checks off the taboo boxes, them being degraded, them being told, being a subordinate, etc.
Cool. So from here, the thing to keep in mind when it comes to taboos or kinks or whatever, right, is that most of the time, the main value that women or men derive from fantasies like this is the participation in the fantasy in an imaginative sense. Now, why do I say that? Because most of the time, if we're the type of person who likes blood play, for example, I'm just coming up with an extreme example. Someone who likes blood play, who likes to get cut during sex, is it going to be the type of thing where you probably want to go and find someone who will live out that fantasy with you in the bedroom? Because if you go and find that person, there's going to be a lot of emotional baggage that comes along with that person who's willing to engage in that. Let's bring this to a more practical example. When you're a married guy and your wife isn't home because you went to the grocery store and you pull out your phone and just whack one out to some porn, does that mean that you actually want to go and blow up your entire life to try and find someone else to fuck? Or is the imaginative participation enough? We all know the answer here. Not every single guy is looking to go and blow up his marriage. Now, Myron disagrees with that statement. Myron's worldview is that men should not commit to any long-term romantic relationships, and that he should basically look to spread his seed as far and wide as possible with as little emotional entanglement and as little responsibility towards anyone else as possible. That's Myron's ideal future. Now, we all have our different worldviews or whatever, but I want to ask you, do you think that you would look back on your life as an 80-year-old on your deathbed, still alone, never having really dated anyone, best case scenario in Myron's worldview, just fucked a bunch of people? Do you think you would look back on your life and be like, damn, I'm really appreciative of all of the feelings of connection and the fact that I'm not surrounded by anyone on my deathbed. I'm just sitting here in a room alone, dying, because I didn't put any level of care or commitment to anyone else but myself. Maybe that appeals to you. Do you think that outside of an individual view of how you want your life to look, do you think a society that actively avoids and abdicates responsibility to others in the way that Myron likes to report is the type of society that you would want to live inside of? I thought you wanted to return to something traditional. I thought you wanted to return to traditional gender norms and traditional views on marriage. Right? Or was I wrong? Now, I'm kind of taking the piss here. It seems like I'm talking down to you. I'm mostly talking down to myself, because there was a long period of time where what it is that Myron was talking about, I would never come out and say that I actively wanted it, but there was a long period of time where I secretly thought to myself, damn, is this the way that I should actively live my life? It kind of sounds awesome. Right? To be able to be the guy who has the money, who has the looks, who has the charisma, and who can just fuck anyone he wants, all while having to have zero commitment and responsibility to anyone that he hooks up with. It sounds cool until you hit like age 32. Honestly, it sounds cool until you develop a strong psyche that is built upon something stronger. For me, it took until age, honestly, not even 32. It took until age 33, which isn't great. I'm not very happy to admit that, but it's the truth. We all move forward at our own rates. But, you know, do I want to be on my deathbed, looking around in a room where no one is in there, except for some nurse who comes every 3 to 4 hours to check on me to see if I need more pain medication while I'm on my way out? Not really. I would like to be next to someone that I've built a life with, even if building that life is really fucking hard, and ideally be surrounded by some children and maybe some grandchildren who are there to see me on my way out. That's the last thing I want to experience and remember on this earth. That sounds nice. So, again, when it comes to the question of participating in fantasies, which is all he's talking about here, he's talking about women as if they really want to have like the shit beaten out of them in a BDSM setting. If they all essentially want to be raped in a consensual setting. Like, this is what he's implying. Maybe a lot of women do. I'm sure a lot of women do, actually. But does it mean that they want it in real life? Or do they want to read it in a romance novel where they're able to interact with that archetype of man and essentially have that archetype of man act in the same way that porn acts for us men? It's just an imaginative scenario that provides some pleasure, gets them wet, and then they're able to move on with their life and actually find someone who they can properly build a life with. We fantasize the things that we know we can't have. We fantasize about the things that we know are not good for us. This is why I fantasize about ordering pizza every night at 12 a.m., right? I know eating a pizza every single night is not good for my health. I know that ordering General Tso's chicken from Way to Go at 2 a.m., along with a milkshake from Barney's Smash Burgers, is not the thing that I want. Does it mean that sitting and fantasizing about it has no utility in my life? No, of course not. The question is whether or not I want that to actually act itself out in reality by going and ordering that stuff so that I get fat as fuck, because there are consequences to our actions. The imaginative world and the world of action are not the same world. There are connections between them, but they are not the same. We are allowed to have our dark, horrible, nasty thoughts and to play around them internally without actually acting them out in the world. Myron's point of view is that every nasty thought that you have should be articulated out into the world because that's the honest thing to do. But what Myron doesn't really understand either is that when it comes to our internal psyches, we have like 7 versions of ourselves, always in competition to be in control. And as a result, there really isn't any real internal truth to share with people that is 100% objective and 100% true. Because we can't even figure that shit out internally in our own heads, right? It's such a mess in here. Not a mess. It's not a mess. It's a Jungian mess, right? Jung was really big on this idea that there are 7, or 8 or 9 or 10 or 15 competing different factions of who we are that are always vying for control. And the goal of life is not to let one of those take over and to start speaking through you as if it's the only viewpoint that you have internally. The point is to integrate those 7, those 8, those 15 different viewpoints into one so that you can participate in the world with nuance, with a certain level of responsibility, with the words that you say out loud. And when you just choose one of those internal voices that are vying for control, and you just choose to go balls deep into that particular squealing hog, and pretend that it is the absolute truth and that you have some sort of moral obligation to share that truth on social media and further delude yourself as if you are doing something that is objectively moral when it's just the way that you make money. I'm sorry, but it's not a very compelling argument for any real level of objectivity, especially when your entire business model, once again, is built on provoking emotion on the side of your customer, when emotion inside of your brand is the so-called enemy. So, 1 minute and 41 seconds into this video. I think we have a good idea of what it is that he's going to say in the rest of it. But again, the thing to keep in mind on this channel is the idea here is to play out some of the ideas that are presented in some of the videos that you come across on social media, because the thing that really allows us to be digitally sober, right, is to, number one, understand how content is presented to us, to understand the economics, how the algorithm works, how we are complicit with what's happening online, so that we can simply be aware of it, because being aware of it provides some distance between us and it. But number two, by taking some of what these finance gurus and these dating gurus say about relationships and playing them out to their logical ends to see if that's the life that we want for ourselves. And if not, to maybe optimize around something else. Because you know what caused you to likely start watching dating content in the first place? A certain level of pain that you experience from your dating life as it currently stands. And you're looking for answers to try and take away the pain. But the question here is, if you're dealing with a situation where you're dying from high blood pressure, do you want to take a pill that will artificially lower your blood pressure and continue eating like shit? Or do you want to stop eating like shit so that you don't have to take the pill? That's the question that you have to ask yourself when you're participating in content like the video that you see on your screen from Myron. Do you want to listen to a guy like this who's offering you the pill, which is essentially saying, hey, go and fuck as many people as you possibly can by getting money, getting in shape, developing some fake charisma, so that you can trick people into liking you for a couple of months while you use them for their emotional resources, and then you discard them and move on to the next, so that at the end of your life you end up in a room alone, dying by yourself? Is that what you want, or do you want something else? Do you want Myron's pill, or do you want the healthy diet where you get to be surrounded by people who can say they love you while you're on your way out? That's the question. Okay. If anyone is still here, I'm just going to say, go through the comments really quick. Sorry, I didn't really refer to these. I'm doing the live streams a little bit differently this week. So let's quickly just do this. I'm going to stop recording too. Likes up. What's up? Had to reopen to get the chat. When did you reveal your face? I did this about 3 months ago. It's been a minute. People love drama. TV taught us that. It was even before TV, brother. Can having a data science degree help? I don't know what you're talking about. It's too late in the conversation. Apologies. I'm curious about how you got your name Anti.Prophet. Boring story. I'll answer it some other time. Has no intel has been explained that long ago. Okay, I'll check them out. I've never heard of this. Kind of new. No need to apologize, bro, but I'll try to paraphrase what he said. He said it's Anti.Prophet because he don't want people to look at him like he's a leader, or he don't want people to follow him blindly because anyone can lie, even him, and for us to do research. That's kind of true. That's mostly true at this point, but there's also some additional stuff there, which, again, I don't want to get into now.